Welcome to your daily dose. I guess it's not daily anymore. Welcome to your dose of salt and light with myself, Nadine Ness. I am going to be moving the time to 9 o'clock. I know I didn't give you guys a heads up. Just with my husband getting home from work, I'm having a hard time having everything ready and ready to go for the show because it takes me too long to prep. And again, I can't do any of that when my husband's not home because I don't have a nanny anymore. So we'll be moving it to 9 p.m. just because it gives me enough time to get ready. The last episode, I think by the time I got everything done after my husband got home, it was 8:30. So hi David. You're from David. I can't remember. Are you from BC? Jonathan's watching. Hi, Jonathan Grande. Grand? I'm going to say grand. David says, I see the Pope is on the docket tonight. I am Roman Catholic, but I use lowercase for this Pope, because I do not have much good to say about this one. Okay, Vancouver. So it's not so late for you there. Hi, Heather. And yeah, I think I agree with you on this one. So some people don't know, but I was raised, I guess, sort of Catholic, as in I wore like the robe and rang the bell, or maybe I didn't ring the bell. I can't remember what my job was. Maybe it was the bell. I don't know. Can girls do the bell? Anyways, I've talked about this before. I went to church like growing up. I think my first communion was the last time the whole family went, if I'm not mistaken. And I've talked about why that is, but I never really knew Jesus. I never really believed. I just went because that's what we did. And to be honest, I didn't know much about him either. So, and I don't know if it's just because I was so young and I wasn't paying attention, or maybe it just wasn't something that was taught to a certain extent. So yeah, I became an atheist because of what happened and how the church responded and stuff. And I've talked about it openly. And it actually pushed me away from God for a big portion of my life. I used to think churches were all cults. but God had a different plan, and he came into my life quite drastically. This would have been, I was looking to see what year it was. I know it was March. In March, I keep thinking it's the 12th, but I'm not 100% sure if it was the March 12th. I'll have to go back and look. In 2000 and would have been 16. And yeah, it changed everything. So David says this Pope was a WEF globalist, climate change, mass immigration, LGBTQIA++ acceptance. Yeah, I'm going to go through a few potentials and some of the stuff that they've said. I'm going to talk about Pierre's plan. Pierre made a post about a bunch of stuff that he promises or that he wants to do if he becomes the next prime minister. We're going to cover that. I'm going to cover Douglas Murray because he's trending right now, and I really like Douglas. So, and what else? And RFK Jr. and their attempt at canceling RFK Jr. because of what he said about autism. So we're gonna or how he talked about autism and wanting to figure out what the root cause of it, whatever. We'll play the video. And yeah, so that's what we'll cover. Hopefully we'll try to keep it under an hour. My husband, oh, that man is just such a wonderful man. He's hauled, the kids were so loud, he's hauled all of them into the master bedroom, so they're the furthest possible away from the room, so it's not so loud. But yeah, and like I said, I haven't had a nanny since she left. Was it last week? So I've been manning the house by myself, manning the kids by myself. And because of it, because of that, I want everything organized. So I've been like organizing all the pantry, organizing all the kitchen, just deep cleaning everything, going through all my kids' clothes because my 5-year-old will take out clothes and realize it doesn't fit and just leave it on the floor. So I keep rewashing the same clothes over and over again that haven't been worn. So I'm like, I went through all the clothes, donated, or I'm going to donate all the stuff that doesn't fit him, just so I'm not rewashing clothes that I don't need to rewash. It's things that I've been putting off, but I'm getting them to help me too. So, and I had the bad idea. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, because I was organizing the pantry. I needed storage, so I decided to bring all 4 of my kids to Dollarama yesterday. And I realize how outnumbered I am with the 4 kids by myself in that moment. Oh gosh. Yeah, David says, "Oh no." I've got chai tea, decaf chai tea, so I don't so that I'm still going to be able to sleep later tonight. But yeah, so that was been my last few days. Anyways, let's get into this. I also thought, because I do the show Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're kind of together. So I'm wondering if I should do it like Monday and Thursday, so it gives it more of a break in between. But yeah, Heather says big mistake. You know what? Surprisingly, my 2.5-year-old didn't have a tantrum, which I was shocked. And to make things worse, like, we have a baby gate that kind of blocks off our living room. So our 2.5-year-old has like this big living room he can play in. It's like 20 feet by 20 feet. So it's massive. So it's not like he's locked into a cage, but we would have this baby gate. So if I needed to do something quick, I would just put him in the living room, and the whole living room was closed off. Well, he figured out how to open the baby gate this week. So not only am I without a nanny, now I have a kid that's just roaming the house. So it's been a lot of, don't touch that, don't play with this, don't open that drawer. So to say I've been overwhelmed is a understatement. So just a lot of things. He's enjoying playing outside. David says jailbreak. Exactly. So I'm surprised I got much done, but you probably noticed I haven't been on Twitter much. I've been posting much just because I've been so busy with the kids. So, okay, let's get into these subjects. Let's see what I've got first. So, we got quite a few of the Pope stuff. Do you guys want to cover that first? Let's see. I'm just going to, oh no. There's a few contenders, some that I really like because they've been quite direct in some of their stances. But then I have the RFK. Let's just do the RFK first, because I had saved that for last episode and I never got to it the last time. So because we were talking.
Sir, this is an individual
Oh my
tragedy as well.
gosh, I'm so sorry for yawning. Okay. I'll play this video. This is what started the RFK attempt cancel culture on RFK Jr.
Sir, this is an individual tragedy as well. Autism destroys families. More importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which are our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who, many of them were fully functional and regressed because of some environmental exposure into autism when they're 2 years old. And these are kids who will never pay taxes. They'll never hold a job. They'll never play baseball. They'll never write a poem. They'll never go out on a date. Many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. And we have to recognize we are doing this to our children, sir. So this is an individual tragedy.
Autism is a spectrum. There are some that are mild form of autism. I have a friend that has that. There's some that are more severe where they're nonverbal, they can't talk, they have violent outbursts. So what he's saying very much affects some kids with autism, not all of them. But you have all of these parents coming forward who have children with autism weighing in on this. So a lot of them who have the mild form says, how dare you say my child can never work? And then you have other parents who have severe form where their child has become like violent, where they've assaulted and physically hurt some of the family members. You have some that will never be verbal, will never talk. You have some on clearly very different spectrum. So what Robert Kennedy Jr. here is saying, RFK Jr. is saying, is we need to figure out what's causing this to reduce the amount of autism that we see in the world. Now, I'm trying to remember the rates. I had saved, I'll see if I have saved it here. I had saved a chart, but I didn't add it to the bookmark. When I'm doing this show, sometimes I have thoughts that come up and then I have to look up what we're talking about. Let's see if I just put it in the search. Sorry. I keep yawning. I'm probably making you guys yawn. Ooh, interesting. I have to be very careful with what I say. Heather says it's 1 in 31 affected now, 1 in 50 back in early 2000. And then before that, it was even more. Now, someone showed a map, but I again, I got denied again for monetization from YouTube. So they've denied my request, but I'm still being careful because I'm going to try to reach Google, whatever who it is that controls YouTube, to see if somebody in the background can can approve my monetization for YouTube. But this really, really bothers me. But I'm going to show a page that's interesting. Oh, it's the wrong one. Let's see if I move this down here. There you go. This page here, let's go back. It says this map shows autism rates around the world. Red countries have the highest rate, blue the lowest. The United States and Canada are both fully red. What do they have in common? Again, I'm being very careful here. There's something else that would correlate to these, but we will not say the word. Why am I holding my cup like that? Yeah, so that's the rates of autism. It's interesting, isn't it? Let's see what else I got here. But that's not what I wanted to show. The US has the highest autism rate compared to other Western countries. 3.2%. That's a lot. Yeah, this shows the rates. Here, let's show this graph here quickly. So in 1992 was like, what, 6 or 7%? And they have it divided by non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, Hispanic, and API. Why did they divide it non-Hispanic white and non-Hispanic black and Hispanic? They could have just put white, black, Hispanic. Okay. Val, Keval posted, but I know who that is. Val says USA has the highest rate of kids eating the cookies. We're being very, very careful here. Okay, let's see what else. So the one thing I would like to see, there's obviously something causing this increase. It could be environmental, it could be cookies, or it could be I don't think it's genetics, but I think genetics you could be predisposed to something like not your body not detoxing heavy metals and stuff or other things in the environment, maybe even like the glyphosates and stuff. I'm curious to see the rates of glyphosates, it like the map that we just saw for the rate of autism. I'm curious to see the rate that you would see like that being spread. But I think in Europe was quite high too, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go back. But what I love is that they're looking into it. That's the part that
as well.
finally someone is saying,
Autism
"Hey, we should look
destroys
into this. It's affecting a lot of people way more than before. Why aren't we spending more research on this? Why aren't we spending more money looking into it?" I have my suspicion. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And so there's a few comments from the post, like Blair White here says he's clearly talking about extreme nonverbal autism, and the people getting offended are the types of people who think autism is a quirky personality trait. Now, I don't know if you follow this lady here. Let's share her post. Data Republican. She works on with Elon Musk right now on Doge. She's a very brilliant person. She has language issues as well. So she's not nonverbal, but she does sign language. But even that, so anyways, I'm going to read the post. She says, "Hello, Senator Warren." And I'll first read what she's commenting on. So Elizabeth Warren, who's like a far lefty loon in the US, says, "I won't share RFK Jr.'s lies about autism. It's disgusting and dangerous. If he had a shred of decency, he would apologize and resign. Autistic people contribute every day to our nation's greatness. To every kid with autism, I'm in this fight all the way for you." So, Data Republican, she's released her name, but I can't remember what it is. But she says, "Hello, Senator Warren. I'm writing to you as someone in a position you claim to represent. I'm profoundly deaf. I live with severe speech and language impairments. I am functionally nonverbal. I also have mild autism, precisely the kind of neurodivergence you and others are invoking to score points against RFK Jr. This seat, I guess that's the new word for tweet, is one of the most disingenuous and cynical things I've seen from you, particularly giving your claim and being an advocate for the disability community. Living with a disability is not a metaphor. It is not a symbol. It is not something to be used selectively when politically convenient. Disability is real, physical, and often brutal. You're using people with mild autism to hold them up as a shield to attack RFK Jr., ignoring the obvious context of his remarks. You know full well he was referring to severe autism, the kind that robs people of speech and autonomy. He was not calling for the eradication of people like Elon Musk. He was talking about helping the children who scream through the night, who can't speak or hold a spoon, who wander into traffic because their sensory system don't register danger. To collapse all of autism into one political narrative is not advocacy. It's a betrayal of those of us with disability. And it reveals that your commitment is not to us, but to score political points against the other side. If you genuinely cared about us, you would be making distinctions loudly. Instead, you flattened us to a talking point. You do not speak for me. And then there's a ton of comments of parents as well. We wondered if our daughter Bria was autistic. We had her tested, especially when she was younger. She had so many behavioral issues. Thankfully, she didn't have that, but she had other things going on. She's better, much better now. She's actually pretty functioning now. She's acing everything in school, but I remember when it was like grade 2, or we were really considering like, okay, what we're wondering what was going on with her. So there was so many times where she would have massive freakouts in school, like screaming, crying, taking off from school. There's been several times where she just left school and took off, where one time, thankfully, an off-duty police officer saw her running. She had made it 6 blocks by the time this person saw found her, and she memorized my number. So, but okay, let's get to a few comments here. Wilson asks, is it mentioned somewhere if there's a disparity frequency between economic classes? That's a really good question. I don't know. Okay, so Daniel Price says, saying, I don't think it's genes, it's patently wrong. Again, you obviously did not listen to everything I was saying. I said potentially genes can make people less um, able to handle toxins and detoxify. And your opinion doesn't negate fact. Kennedy is not a licensed medical professional or qualified in this. Actually, what Kennedy is super qualified in is identifying environmental factors that have led to people having severe disability, severe um, physical ailment. He fought a lot of lawsuit against big corporation, big pharma, big entities to hold them liable to the damage they have caused to other humans. If anything, he's the best person to investigate and lead the charge in finding out what is causing these issues, whether it's environmental or other things that is causing autism. I don't think it's just world is changing and we now have that much more. But it's funny that it's the same thing, people who who criticize other things during a time that I will not mention 4 years ago use the exact same language that people are not licensed medical professionals, so they can't talk to the issue. I think the fact that it hasn't been investigated fully, and there's no really money being spent on it to determine what is causing this, should be alarming, completely alarming. Okay, Daniel, I don't know who you're listening to, but for the love of God, stop calling it an epidemic. It's a neurological disorder that start at the genetic level. It's not a disease. It's not a sickness. It's not something you can cure. Okay, first of all, I never use that word. Like, I think you're watching, like, 2 different shows. You're obviously, like, projecting, really projecting into this show because you're putting words I've never used epidemic. Why are you coming out like a bull in a china shop here? This is a comment from David. Is this personal for you? It's funny because there are people who have had, like, severe form of autism that have, like, went through a lot of detoxifications as well as changes in food diet, and they got, like, remarkably better. Max Power says it's going to take a lot of research to figure out what causes autism. Okay, Danielle, you seem to have figured it all out. David says that comment question you just read. Yeah, I think I was reading. Oh, you were, David, you were commenting to Daniel. Okay. No, and yeah, I figure you were talking to Daniel. But yeah, I think there's things that can be done to lessen, but even it makes me wonder too, like what other things like the diet too, like the American diet, the Canadian diet is probably a little bit better than the American diet, but I think that are the numbers better in Canada too? There was 2 people that went on Joe Rogan's show, brother and sister, and they had a lot to say about like the fact how many children are unhealthy in America, but they contributed a lot of it to diet. So I don't know. I don't know all the answers. I don't necessarily trust the big corporation who stands to profit from all of this, to profit from people being in the medical system. I don't necessarily trust or to profit from certain things that I will not mention, that I don't necessarily trust that they're going to give the they're going to do proper studies. If anything, there's a certain time period in the last 4 years that kinda showed us that the data can be manipulated and hidden to justify things to make a profit. So I've lost all trust in big pharma, and I think a lot of people did too. I and it's funny because, like, my first 2 kids have all of their shots, like, every single one they could have. I have all of them, and I probably have more than I needed to because I couldn't remember which one I got when I joined the RCMP, so they gave me a bunch of new ones at the time, so I probably have way more than I need, and, but yeah, I talked before too about my 3rd child having a really severe reaction. So where he was, like, crying, um, for 3 weeks straight, just really, really fussy, like, fever, but it wasn't even that, and then we had an episode where he basically turned blue, his O2 stat had gone way down, his heart rate had gone way down, and we had to basically I was about to do CPR because he wasn't coming to. So, and that was the same week as his, you know what, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till he's older and then we'll try more. Nah, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until after when all this COVID stuff happened, and I went back and looked, was that the same week that he, like, basically coded almost? And it was, sure enough, it was, like, 3 or 4 days later. So and I have a monitor, so it used to be an outlet, so you could go and see you could see all of the kinda how he's doing throughout the whole time, so it was very good in that way, but again, I have SIDS in my family, I have a brother who died of SIDS at 4 months old. Um, and then I had issues as well with my second son, so we had him on a machine too. So back then it wasn't Outlet, it was just Angel. Okay, let's get to the next subject. This is I guess I'll cover this one. Imagine not wanting to find out what causes autism. It's so true. Imagine not wanting to get more research into it. Val says, one simple thing as an example, Ritz crackers aren't allowed to be sold in other countries due to bad ingredients. So many things are off. Price. Yeah. David says, Daniel, I bow to you, your expertise and your superior knowledge. No, it's funny because like you have people who are so dead set in their ways. There's been no proof that it's caused just by genes. No proof. There's been no studies on it. None. So show us the studies. If you're so solidified on that, please show us the data. SIDS, how many kids were given what they shouldn't have and caused SIDS? Okay, please, Daniel, you saying there are studies. Can you share them in the group chat or in the chat? I would love to see them. Okay, next topic. The food professor, I don't know if you guys know, he came on my show. This was like probably like a month ago. He says Bayer warns it may halt glyphosate production amid thousands of civil lawsuits and 10 billion USD in compensation payouts. Similar lawsuits are now beginning to surface in Canada. And then he posts an article about it. Bayer warns it may stop producing glyphosate. Precision breaks risk management. These are some of the lawsuits in Canada. If you don't follow the food professor here, Sylvain Charlebois, Agri-Food and Analytic Lab, Dalhousie University top-rated podcast. Anyways, he was on the show. We didn't get into this subject because we were talking about the tariffs and how that affects food supplies, but it's one of the topics that he said he would come back on the show and discuss this and supply management as well. So let's see what else I got here. I have a lot of stuff for Douglas Murray. Let's get into the Douglas Murray. So he just released a book. I'm going to see if I have a copy of it. Not a copy, but a screenshot of it. I did see it go around, but I don't know if I added in here. Anyways, let's it's a video. I haven't watched it yet.
No.
Watched a lot of his other stuff.
No. Just bear with me because I know better than you what I think. This country has had a wildly stupid and lax immigration policy for decades. And we allowed people like the Abedi family, a family of jihadists who'd fallen out with Colonel Gaddafi because they were from rival jihadist groups. When the Abedi family fell out with Colonel Gaddafi, they came first to London and then to Manchester. And one of the sons they gave this country was Salman Abedi, who at the age of 22 killed 22 young girls at the Manchester Arena with a suicide bomb. One, by the way, for every year of life this country gave him.
Make it go faster.
His brothers just stabbed and thrown boiling oil at 3 prison was. Let me bear with you. Why were the Abedi family in the UK? Why is nobody interested in asking that? And I'll tell you what the problem here is. There are lots of types of extremism. You get far-right extremism, far-left extremism. When it comes to jihadist extremism, jihadism comes from Islam. Therefore, if it's 1%, 5%, 15% of people of the Muslim faith who follow that version of it, you've got a hell of a problem. And the more people, the larger, this is simple math, the larger the number of people who are followers of a faith that has not solved the extremism problem in its midst or drawn suitable lines, the more extremism you will have. You don't get that from the Catholic Church in 2023 or 4. You don't get it from the Methodists. You won't get it from the Quakers, and you won't get it from the Anglican Church. Of course, there is.
He makes a really good point. Brigitte, what's her last name? She talked about this too. And I've played it. This would have been a while ago. And the point that Douglas says is the faith is not doing anything about the extremism, and it doesn't take like, even if it's 15% or 10%, that's still millions and millions of people. So, but I have a few other videos here that I want to play of Douglas Murray.
They think it's
this
kind
one's a bit longer. And the reason Douglas Murray is trending right now is because of his book that's getting released. Trump even like tweeted about it or Truth Social posted about it. This was after Douglas Murray went on Joe Rogan podcast. And so he talked about the Israel Gaza war that's happening, and there was a guy kind of representing the Gaza side, and then the Douglas Murray was representing the Israel side. And so that happened, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I didn't cover it on my show because I didn't have I guess I didn't have like a daily episode, so other things took precedent. But it was a really interesting. I didn't watch all of it. I just watched clips of it. But it was interesting back and forth. And then, yeah, the following days when Trump posted, let's see if I can find it. I don't know if Truth Social. Let's see if it lets me, or if I might have to like fully log in. No, there you go. Trump. So you've got like a whole bunch of truths. There you go. I'm trying to find the one for Trump. Okay, here it is. I'll see if I can share it here. My friend Douglas Murray just released a new book on democracies and death cults, and it is quickly becoming a bestseller. Based on his firsthand reporting, Douglas documents the barbarity of Hamas' brutal attack on Israel on October 7th and Israel's heroic response. The book serves as a strong reminder of why we must always stand up for America and our great friend and ally, Israel, a powerful read from a highly respected author. Get your copy today. That was Nick Fuentes. He's like what I would call the definition of woke right. He's what I would call the far right. It's interesting just to see like so many people's take. So Joe Rogan here was making fun of Douglas Murray. Here, let's play this video here. Was it last week?
Made that, starvation and stuff like that and people dying is worse than a podcast.
But wait a minute.
I wouldn't
Wait a minute before you say that. Have you been there?
Right, that's a good point.
You haven't been?
By the way, how is he in all these wars? Can I just go to wars? By the way, how are you allowed to just go to wars? Is that the way
you should at least
can you just go to
courtesy of going there.
Can I just go to wars, or do I have to come back and say what people want me to say about the wars? Can I go to the wars and have my own opinions, or do I have to have the opinions?
Not if you want to go back.
That's right. It's very interesting, this war tourism. How do I get on this war tourism?
Yeah.
I'd like to go to the Ukraine. I want to go. I want to go. I want to go to all.
Okay. First of all, they obviously don't know who Douglas Murray is. he goes to war-torn country because he's a reporter covering wars all over the world. So he's probably one of the most experienced person to talk about what's happening in the Middle East because he's covered as a journalist, as a war covering journalist for decades. So, but it's funny, they're so clueless. They're making fun of him as if like it's tourism. No, he does it because it's a job that not many people will do, and it's something he's passionate about. Val says, and who funded Hamas, who really was the start of that mess? Well, I think it's funding, but I think it's more than that. I think a lot of the countries in the Middle East around Israel were supporting what Hamas was doing as well. I think it's ideology as well. They want the complete annihilation of Jews in Israel. So, and that's just going to continue happening. There's like back and forth between Daniel and David. So because you're experienced with autism, you know everything, all the scientific data, even the studies that haven't occurred, and even the scientific data that hasn't been found out because nobody wants to spend money researching it. If anything, if you cared so much about it, why aren't you wanting more money spent into figuring out what is causing this massive increase in autism? What is causing it in certain countries and not in others? Like, why don't you want that researched out? That's my question. Like, if you lived, experienced in it, why aren't you happy about more money, more resources being spent into figuring out? You think everything's all been figured out already? Every research that can possibly happen around autism has already happened? Like you think that there's been billions of dollars spent into it? Like really? If you're so experienced in it and you lived it, you would think that this would be something you would celebrate. I don't think it's just Kennedy. I think it's a massive groups of people and parents who have autism, who have kids with autism that wants this researched. It hasn't been figured out. That's the thing. It hasn't been figured out. Because if it had, the rates wouldn't be increasing exponentially like it has. And you can't say it's because there's more diagnosis, because if you go back and look at population of 70 years old, the rates aren't there. Wow, you really, really sound brainwashed. Like really, really sound brainwashed. It's like you've been fed all the talking points and you're just pushing it out there. It's okay. I used to be like you too. So I understand. I understand a little bit. But I'm going to celebrate research being done into this. Okay, what else do we have for Douglas Murray here? How long is
There
this?
is not a hostage.
Oh, it's 3 minutes long. Okay. It talks about here. I'll play this one. I will play it, but I'll just play a little bit faster. I haven't listened to this.
Who's come out who I've spoken with, who found any Gazan Palestinian who expressed even the slightest human kindness to them. If you look at the footage from the 7th that Hamas recorded themselves of them taking young Jewish women into Gaza and so on, you will notice that the trucks and the motorbikes and so on are not stopped by horrified Gazan civilians saying, "Why have you got this Israeli girl whose tendons you've cut, and why are you bringing her here?" It's all celebration. It's all celebration. And it's the same with, there's a couple of cases of hostages who managed to escape from the civilian houses they were being held in, who were immediately returned by the citizens they met.
Yeah, the celebration, I do wonder what percent of the population they represent, but there's something really dark. There's several ways to explain the celebration. It could be that there's a deep indoctrination where you do legitimately hate Jews. And there also could be a place of just deep desperation. And it's a kind of relief that you have to convince yourself that you're on the side of fighting for freedom in order to justify to yourself that this is the right way to fight out of desperation, out of extremely harsh conditions. Because the way we're kind of speaking about this with the celebration,
I'm
it's
just
very
gonna
easy
pause. I just want to see who is it Nafal that he's interviewing? I think it was Mario Nafal.
to project a kind of
Is that who
evil
that is?
on the populace that I just am very hesitant to project, especially on the general populace.
You don't have to project it onto them. You can just listen to their own words. What I'm sure you've heard one of many audio recordings you hear from the morning, but I'm
No,
sure
it's
you've heard
not
the audio
Mario.
recording of the
What's
young
the name
man
of the
who
interviewer?
ends up in one of the communities in the south of Israel and calls back home. Have you heard that?
Yes, I've
Yeah,
heard it.
I quoted in the first chapter of the book. He calls back home and he says to his father, who picks up, it's on WhatsApp. I think he's on the phone. He's saying, "Turn on to WhatsApp because I can show you." He says, "I've killed 10 Jews with my own hands. Oh, father, your son has killed 10 Jews." And his father is saying, "Where are you? Where are you?" He goes, "I want to show you, Dad. I want to show you. I've killed Jews with my own hands. Your son." Put mother on the phone. Mother comes on the phone. The brother comes on the phone. This is one of many, many stories from the day that suggest
It's not Shapiro. This guy. Who is he? He does Twitter, but it's not. I don't think it's Mario Nafal, or maybe it is. Maybe it is. Here. I think it might be. Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure. Oh, it's Lex Friedman. Okay, sorry, David. Thank you. He looks a lot like Mario. He does Twitter, doesn't he? It's delayed, I think. When you guys comment, it's like a few seconds later that I see it. I don't see it right away. It's still showing up the comments, even though I've recognized Lex Friedman. Lex Friedman. Max Power says we are from the future. That's one thing, like, I remember when all that was happening, like I told you guys, I had some friends who were saying a complete different narrative from October 7th, and I forced myself to look at everything from both sides that was being put on everything, and then once I kinda looked at everything on both sides, I made my own conclusions or, I guess, perception of what was actually going on. Okay, next topic. Catholics worldwide are now demanding Bishop Athanasius Schneider replace Pope Francis. These are so these are some of the videos from some of the bishops that people are wanting to become the next pope. Jonathan says, "Wow, Mario Nafal and Lex Friedman do look similar." They do, don't they? Okay, this is one of the
This is very serious.
popes
Now we are witnessing
or
an
potential pope.
invasion. They are not refugees. No, this is an invasion of mass Islamization of Europe, which already went on for at minimum 50, 60 years, the Islamization in Europe. But now it is in mass. It is very evident. And so this is a global political agenda by the powerful of the world to destroy Europe culturally and religiously. I mean, to destroy Christianity ultimately in Europe, with the help of the massive
Just
Islamic
wanna
population.
see.
And I was reading recently an article of a sociologist who made a calculation that maybe in 30 or 40 years, when it's now going on, so the majority of the population of Europe will be Islamic. Europe will be Islamic when this will go on, because the European people have almost no children, 1 or 2. The Muslims there, they have 5, 6 to 10 children. And so it is, you can only make mathematics, and then you can see that they will be in the majority.
I'm just checking to see where this bishop is from. He has an accent. Oh, no. Bishop. I was trying to multitask. Athanasius Schneider. I want to see where. In Kyrgyz, SSR, in the Soviet Union. So Russian. Ethnic German settlers from Odessa, Ukraine. His family, relocated to Valga, Estonia. Oh, interesting. Okay, there's a few other potentials being mentioned. He mentioned something else that I want to talk about too. But I'll talk about it. Speaking of Mario Nafal, this is a post by Mario. So I just realized it was kind of out of order. We'll go back to the Pope, but he mentioned how the birth rate of the most those who are immigrants in Europe is really low, but then the immigrant population, the birth rate is really high, so 5 children or more. That's why we're gonna work on our 5th. But anyway, speaking of this, so this is fertility decline hits all 50 states, new lows nationwide. The US fertility rate dropped to an all-time low of 54.5 births per 1,000 women in 2023, less than half its 1957 peak of 122.9. But anyways, I just thought this was interesting. Let's see. I'm just going to make this bigger. Fertility rates decreased in all states between 2005. So the darker it is, the higher the rate. Is that right? Yeah. Oh no, that's where it decreased the most. Utah decreased the most. I wonder if that's like less. The Louisiana, the fertility rate decreased the least. Interesting, eh? You think Utah would be like way higher. South Dakota, Alaska, and Nebraska had the highest fertility rates in 2022. Interesting. All the southern, not the southern, but the western ones are quite high. Alaska. I guess there's not much to do up there. David says, "Isn't Utah the Mormon state?" Yeah, that's why I'm shocked it's so. Well, this is the highest fertility rate of 2022. but it decreased the most. David says that's interesting. Mormons make the big family. Like, it's still high. Look, it's the darker it is, the higher it is. So Utah's still high, but it decreased the most from before. David asks, have you heard of the Deagle report? Oh, you mentioned that before, but it's not ringing a bell right now. Anyways, I have more tweets here. Let's get back to the Pope. There's one more Pope I want to... Oh, I want to play this video about the Pope.
Really? I mean, we got.
What's this guy's name again? Oh, I'm having a brain fart. He played... He did the movie about
You had a
Jesus.
pope that brought a South American idol into the church to worship.
Gibson.
Really? He did. The Pachamama. He brought the South American, and he got.
I don't know what that is.
It's kind of like a South American god, Pachamama.
Why would he do that?
Good question. But he did.
Did he have an explanation for why he did it?
Yeah, it's kind of a weasel-worded thing of like, oh, all religions are just as good as one another. But you know, if that's his contention,
he shouldn't be the Pope.
No, I mean,
how can you be the Pope if say all religions are just as good?
Yeah, we all worship. You know, so yeah, there's Pachamama. There you go.
So he brought that in.
Yeah, into the Vatican. Then the hierarchy even worshipped. They had a ceremony around it outside.
What?
So, well, that constitutes apostasy.
Yeah,
that's an apostasy.
Yeah,
He brought it in the
worshiping false
Vatican?
gods.
Yeah, that's number one on the Mosaic hit list. You know,
Yeah.
Moses goes up on the mountain. He comes back down. People are worshiping a golden calf.
Yeah,
You know, it's that.
yeah.
So you can't do that.
Interesting. So Mel Gibson is like a well-known Catholic. But yeah, he had that to say. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was like meetings that were happening where they were trying to, and this actually happened, where they were trying to do like one world religion, where there was like Islam was there, Catholics, Hindu, Buddhists. Is it Hindu or is it Buddhist or is it both? And then they all met together on this like I can't remember where it was. And they all signed this declaration. What was it called? Here, I'm going to ask Grok. But I can't do it with the... Or maybe is it? No, it wasn't Abraham Accord. It was something else. What was the thing that was signed where all these leaders of different religion came together and signed and made like an agreement for like a one world religion? And where did it get signed? Pope Francis was there as one of the leaders. Yeah, so this is what it's saying. Document on human fraternity for world peace and living together, signed on February 4th, 2019 in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. I don't know if I'm saying that properly. Pope Francis representing the Catholic Church. Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayyib, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, leading authority in Sunni Islam, were the primary signatories. The event took place during Pope Francis' historic visit to the Arabian Peninsula, the first by a pope. So it's not an agreement for a one world religion, but a joint pledge to promote peace, tolerance, and human fraternity across faith. It condemns violence, extremism, and terrorism in the name of religion and calls for cooperation among people of different beliefs to address global issues like war, poverty, and environmental decay. Hmm. So it wasn't a fusing. So the document does not merge religion or create a new one. It promotes dialogue and coexistence while respecting distinct religious identity. Interesting. Have you guys seen what it is? Oh, there's like so many comments. And Wilson says, as long as the next pope isn't the false prophet and woke like this last one. He was really woke. Like really, really woke. There's one guy. From Cardinal Robert Sarah. A lot of people are calling for him to be the Pope. Here he is. But these are some of the quotes that he's said. Those of us, those who use the Bible to justify mass immigration or bewitch gender ideology is a Luciferian refusal to receive a sexual nature from God. So these are some of the quotes from Cardinal Robert Sarah. To all our freedoms are threatened, economic, political, and media pressures never cease to diminish the connection between liberty and truth. Soviet communism showed how possible it was to lead mankind into misery while promoting absolute equality. Relativism is a widespread evil. It is not necessary. It is not easy to combat it. The task becomes more complex as inasmuch complex inasmuch as it arbitrarily serves as a sort of charter for a way of communal life. Relativism attempts to complete the process of the social disappearance of God. It guides mankind with an attractive logic that proves to be a perverse totalitarian system. So those are pretty like bold quotes. I'm curious as to what's the process? Do you guys know what the process is? Here, let's ask what is the process for a new pope to be picked? It's funny. I think some of you have said, oh, David says, where does it say that? David says the Black Pope, no. And that has nothing to do with race. Have you not heard of the Black Pope, signs of end times, dark times? Do you have the scripture for that? Joan says known as the Black Pope. I have not heard about that. Here, let's ask Grok. I'll just switch back to the main screen. What's I'm just asking Grok. So the Grok says the Bible does not explicitly mention a black pope or any pope in relation to race, ethnicity, or the papacy itself. The concept of a black pope often stems from non-biblical sources, particularly the 12th century prophecy of Saint Malachi, which is not considered canonical scripture. This prophecy, attributed to Saint Malachi, an Irish bishop, allegedly lists 112 future pope, with the final one referred to as Peter the Roman, sometimes interpreted by some as a black pope. However, scholars widely regard this prophecy as a 16th century forgery, and it lacks any biblical basis. Well, yeah, because like the pope wasn't like a term that was in the Bible. So I don't think it would be there. David, should I put my tinfoil hat for this comment? There was talk that there was already a black pope working in the background of this current pope. Yeah, so email me anything you find. There's a few. Some people are saying that there are relevant biblical passages often cited in discussion about end times figure apostasy, which some try to connect to a black pope, include Revelation 17:9 refers to a city on 7 hills, commonly interpreted as Rome, which some speculate could involve a papacy. I don't know if I'm saying it right. In end times event. However, it does not mention a pope, let alone one defined by race. Yeah, I don't know. That guy kind of sounds pretty great to me. Who else were back? I think it was like in 2022, there was talks about the Pope resigning, and then they were kind of talking about who might be the next one. There was a few that were mentioned. One was Asian. I'm just checking to see what his name here is. Oh, it's scroll. I lost it. Luis Antonio Gokim Tagle was one of the ones. And then one Cardinal Peter Turkson attends the annual German Sustainability Award design. So those were some of the ones that were announced. I'm just going to see who else they potentially. Have you guys heard of anyone else that they're considering? There's a whole bunch here. Heather says black can mean dark, sinister, evil, not necessarily skin color. Yeah, I agree. Alvi says a professor said in 10 years, 40% of the Catholics will be in Africa as the rest of the world becomes either Muslim or atheist. So it will be no surprise if they pick a pope from Africa. Interesting. David says there is a Hungarian cardinal being talked about as a possible pope. If he has as based as Viktor Orban, I vote for him. Let's see what I'm curious. Okay. What is the process to pick a pope? I'm curious. So it's called Papal Conclave, a formal and secretive procedure governed by Catholic tradition and canon law. Here's a concise overview. Papal vacancy. The process starts when the papacy is vacant, usually due to the Pope's death or rarely resignation. So Pope Benedict had resigned. The Camerlengo, a cardinal, confirms the Pope's death and manages church affairs temporary. A mourning period, typically 9 days, follow the Pope's death. Eligible cardinals under 80 years old, up to 120 electors per Vatican rule, are summoned to Rome. Under 80 years old, that's interesting. They have to be under 80. General congregations meeting of all cardinals discuss church needs and organize the conclave held 15 to 20 days after the vacancy. Conclave begins. Cardinal assemble in the Vatican, staying in the Domus Sanctae Marthae and voting in the Sistine Chapel. I don't know these terms, and my first language is French, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing them properly. They swear an oath to secrecy, and outsiders are dismissed. Voting occurs in sessions with up to 4 ballots daily, 2 morning, 2 afternoon. Voting process, cardinals write their choice on a ballot, aiming for a 2/3 majority or 2/3 plus 1 if the number isn't divisible by 3. Ballots are counted, read out loud, and burned after each session. Black smoke signal no decision. White smoke indicates a pope is elected. Interesting. If no candidate achieves a majority after several ballots, a day of prayer or discussion may pause voting. After about 30 ballots, a simple majority may suffice, per recent rules. After about 30 ballots, like 30 attempts at voting, is that what that means? Is that what that means? I wonder who was picked as a majority instead of like the 2/3. Election and acceptance. Once a cardinal receives the required votes, he is asked if he accepts the election. If he agrees, he becomes pope and chooses his papal name. Papal? Popal? It's A, so it's not popal. The dean of the College of Cardinals announces the election from St. Peter's Basilica with Habemus Papam. We have a pope. Introducing the new pope's name and former name. The new pope gives his first blessing. Urbi et Orbi from the balcony. The conclave ends and records are sealed for secrecy. The Pope begins his ministry with an inauguration mass held soon after. Interesting. So they changed their names. What was Pope Francis' first name before it got changed? Here, let's ask Grote. I didn't know that. I'm learning a lot right now. Before he was Pope Francis, his name was George Mario Bergoglio. That's nothing like him. This is interesting. Daniel, why are you arguing with everyone? Like, there's not a single person in the comments that you're not, like, arguing with. You said, Val, you said the guy above is the head now. Or who are you guys talking about? A pastor from Spain mentioned all of them. There are about 10 being considered. I'm curious as to which one they are. I'm going to see if Grok knows. It's too bad that I can't use like voice with Grok. So several cardinals are frequently mentioned. Oh, there's names. Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He's from Italy. He's 70 years old. Luis Antonio Tago from the Philippines, age 67. Oh, Arlene would love to have that one win. Peter Aldo, he's from Hungary. Peter Turkson from Ghana. Matteo Zuppi from Italy, 69 years old. Jean-Marc Avelin from France. Fridolin Ambongo Besungu from Congo. Mario Gretsch from Malta. I don't even know where Malta is. Does it say? Pia Battista Pizzaballa from Italy. That sounds like an Italian name. Robert Serra from Guinea. Okay, so Robert Serra is one of the ones being considered. Or that's the one that's being talked about anyways. And from what I hear, Pope Francis wasn't one who was being considered as a frontrunner in 2013. So it's hard to predict what the outcome will be. Who was you guys' most favorite pope? George was known, Valerie says, George was known as the most liberal they could pick and most amicable. Carla says, traditional Catholics were not fond of this pope. He really went after the Latin Mass. Val says, where did my post go? Did you post on Facebook? Facebook is a bit weird, Val. It doesn't show all the comments. Was it a comment that you posted? Cardinal Kevin Farrell is in charge now. Let's see who Kevin Farrell is. He's just in charge temporarily, right? This is who it is here. I'll share the screen. Whoop. That's who's in charge now, temporary. I was watching there's a guy I'm following. I can't even remember his name on Facebook. He showed up in my reels. He's a behavioral analysis. He does profiling and stuff, and I've been following him. And what's been fascinating, he's been putting words into things that I already do and already notice in my profiling training, but some of it is not just training, it's just like seeing someone and just knowing, and I couldn't figure out like how to explain it. Anyways, one of the things he was talking about was how certain facial features can tell you things, like wrinkle lines and stuff can tell you things about what kind of person people are. So one of the, these line, I don't know if you can see them, but these lines is somebody who raises their eyebrows a lot. Psychopaths often will have no lines at all here. So it's one of the it looks like they'll have had Botox, and but they just haven't done those lines. And how he explained it, it's social kind of cues. So when you're wanting to be social with others, like extreme extroverts will often have all of these lines because they're very social. They like to kind of get to know people and befriend people, and they like to be social creatures. However, psychopaths don't. So they don't react. They don't respond to social cues and stuff. So they don't raise their eyebrows as much. So they don't have the lines often. So it's certain things, like people who smile a lot will have more wrinkles around the eyes. So you can kind of see if somebody has a ton of wrinkles around the eyes, you can see that they're very like smiley, happy people. So anyways, it was really interesting. I wish I had saved it so that I could play it for you guys, but it was one of the things that I kind of can look at like someone's photo and kind of say a lot about that person. And sometimes it's like what they wear, sometimes it's the body language of people around them, but facial expression or even like lines in the face tells a lot about a person. So, and he was describing a lot of these, which is really, really interesting. He has like master class. I think it's NCI. What does it stand for? But not NCI like the cop show. But it was so fascinating. I want to read the book that he has and kind of get all the training that he has, just to familiarize myself with it even more. NCI master class. I think it's cognitive. No, NCI. Neuro. I'll try to find it. Behavioral science. I can't find it. I'll see if I can. I follow him on Facebook, so I'll see if I can find it and then play some of his videos. I've just been so fascinated by it all. Okay, next last subject. Pierre Poilievre's plan. So Poilievre posted something that lists all of their campaign plans here, or some of them. Read the planet for change, for a change.ca. Let's see if I can open it in. But here's one, the post that he did. One, cut the liberal deficit by 70%, cutting waste, consultants, bureaucracy for a change, cut income tax by 15% for a change, axe sales tax on new home, lock up criminals, put Canada first by bringing home our jobs. Read the plan at forchange.ca. So this was just released. Let's see. So it lists all of them. Canada First, TFSA top up, boots, not suits. I don't know if you guys remember that when he announced that. Well, you can't see the whole thing. Give me a sec. I'll make it the bigger screen. Unleash Canadian resources, Canada shovel ready zones, Canada energy corridor. Show more. Axe the carbon tax, unlock the ring of fire. Life sentence for the worst offenders. secure the border, secure Canada's Arctic, launch interprovincial free trade, axe the escalator tax on alcohol, axe the sales tax on made in Canada cars. Oh, I didn't know about that one. That's a new one. So keep workers working. I think that's for here. Let's just. I think, oh, the people that are affected by the tariffs. Tougher sentencing for intimate partner violence, which is really good. Cut regulations by 25%, so red tape. Bring our loved ones home drug-free. So that's like the compassionate approach to addiction instead of safe supply. One and done, so that's for the environmental review. Crack down on tax cheats. Close tax loopholes and redirect CRA resources. 3 strikes and you're outlaw. Cut taxes by 100,000 per home. Put veterans first. Accountability Act 2.0, so end conflict of interest, shadow lobbying. Oh, that's really good. Oh, wow, there's so much. Okay, 5 more. Consecutive sentence for mass murderers, stop scammers, protect seniors, axe the food packaging tax. So, oh, yeah, that's the big one. The straw. Yeah, Wilson says everyone needs to get out and vote. I haven't gone yet. I think the early voting is done. Here, I'm going to go see. I have my voting thing. I'm going to run and grab it. Give me 1 second. Max Power voted already. Yeah, I got the voting card. I got the voting card here. What's today? Okay, yeah, the early voting is done. You can vote at the Elections Canada place on April 26th. Oh, speaking of that, Pierre Poilievre is coming to Saskatoon on Thursday. So Wilson says Monday was last early day. Yeah, I'm planning on. It's funny though. I've never heard of so many people going to vote early. It's incredible how many people that I know that have gone to vote already. I just had the kids, so I wasn't able to go. But I'll go on election day. Which is the next Monday, the 28th of April. But yeah, Pierre Poilievre is coming to Saskatoon on Thursday. So my show is supposed to be on Thursday. I might instead just go live from Pierre Poilievre's event because I'm hoping to go. I just have to figure out childcare. But yeah, he's I just was gonna find the flyer. So Thursday, April 24th, doors open at 6 p.m. I don't even know where that is. The Biz Hub Industrial Park. We'll see how many people go. But anyway, so Pierre is coming to Saskatoon Thursday at 6 p.m. So I'll be heading to that. Are any of you going? Because if so, let me know and we'll meet up and say hi. Okay, so sorry, we'll go back. I have 3 more. So axe the food packaging tax. So that's repeal the ban on plastic straws, bags, food containers. This was like a cheer from myself for that one because I actually despise paper straws. And then here, compassionate intervention, give judge the power to mandate treatment for people. Oh, that's kind of linked to this one. Where did that one go? Oh, that it's similar. Stop taxpayers funded hard drugs, create 50,000 new recovery centers. Okay, so it's similar to that. Build 2.3 million homes. In how long? He wanted to, the boots, not suits, too, was one of the ones pushing for more trade. So I really like that one. Alvi says go live. I will. I'm going to go vote Monday. Jonathan and I will go. So yeah, I think that covers everything.
Probably of Joe Warmington from the
There's Mark Carney released his like plan or policy, whatever you want to call it, the same thing kind of that I just went through with Pierre, and a ton of people are going through it talking about the deficit that's going to bring in. And Max says if the early voting is any indicator anyways, or you're responding to here, just give me a second. I couldn't vote early, but I'll definitely go voting day, says Jonathan. Max Power says it concerns me that voting day will have massively long lines because there may be record turnout this election. The funny thing is, so there was one of the posts that I saw talked about when you had records amounts of early voting, usually it was people going to vote for change. So it's going to be interesting to see what do you guys think? And Wilson says, still go vote. Be sure to dress appropriately for the weather. Let's see what I'm going to probably go early in the morning. Max Power says, hopefully it's a change vote for sure. I'm going to see what the weather's supposed to be like. I probably should have gone early voting, but I didn't. Oh, tomorrow's supposed to be 13, Thursday 16, Friday 17. Monday's supposed to be 15, so it's not that bad. David says 7.3 millions have already voted. There are 29 million that can vote, apparently. That's a lot. How much was early voters in the past? Here, that's a good question for Grok. How many early voters in past Canadian federal election? My prediction is that Pierre Poilievre is going to win the popular vote. That's my prediction. But that doesn't mean he's going to win the election. Okay. So in 2021, approximately 5.78 million electors voted at advanced polls over 4 days. This marked an 18.46 increase from 2019. In 2019, 4.8 million voted. And I wouldn't say like this is because of the increased population, because most of the increased population isn't eligible to vote. You have to be a Canadian citizen to be able to vote. In October 2019 it was 3.6 million. In May, that was October 19, 2015 was 3.6 million. May 2nd, 2011 was 3 million. October 14th, 2008 was 2.5 million. Okay, so it is quite a bit more. Like a lot more. Because it would go up by like 1 million, but this went up by 2. Yeah, Max Power says O'Toole also won the popular vote, but still lost to Trudeau. What did Andrew Scheer get? Did he get the popular vote or no? David says, I have so many people saying that even though they have voted Liberal NDP, they are voting CPC this time. Wilson posted this. I don't know what are those emojis? Is it a blue wave? Is it a wave? Is that what it is? I think it is. It's hard to see from here. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. It is 10:30, blue wave. And I think I covered everything. Yeah, I did. And I won't be back for the regular show on Thursday. I will be at Poilievre's event, so I'll go live whenever it starts. And then that's the one in Saskatoon. I still have to figure out childcare. So I don't think it'd be a good, I mean, I brought my kids before to some of his events in Saskatoon, but this one might be a little bit more different, but I'll try to go live. I just got to figure out childcare. And because my husband won't be done in time. And have a good night, guys. I will see you guys, I guess, Thursday. And I'll figure out. Elvie says, a friend of my husband said he will never vote conservative since he said conservative will privatize healthcare. I told him the system is broken, so it needs a revamp. Max Power says, thanks for the stream. Click like and subscribe. God bless everybody. That's Max Power says that. Firecracker, if you're in Saskatoon, he's going to be at Biz Hub Industrial Park, Saskatoon, 209 Revenue Road. I have to register still. I just found it. Like a friend sent it to me. The husband of an MP that I know. And yeah, so I'll be there. I'll go live. And hopefully I'll be there. In worst case scenario, I'll just drag all my kids with me. Actually, I'll only have the 2 younger ones. So I can put the 2.5-year-old in a carrier. That'd be the only way to kind of make it kind of work out good. But yeah, I'll see if I can. I'll figure it out. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Either way, I'll see you on Thursday. It might be earlier. The rally, the door opens at 6, so I don't imagine it starts till 7, so I don't know when I'll go live, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, see you guys.